Fyodor Dostoevsky, the master of human contradiction, once said, "Nothing is easier than to denounce the evildoer. Nothing is more difficult than to understand him." He didn't write to glorify pain or justify cruelty. He wrote to remind us that every monster was once a child who wanted to be loved. That behind every sin there is a reason we no longer try to see. He believed the soul is not divided between good and evil, but torn between what it hides and what it dares to confess. We judge easily because understanding requires us to look inside ourselves, to see the same chaos, the same fear, the same fragile longing for meaning. Dostoevsky understood that morality is not purity. It's the courage to confront our own darkness without pretending we're untouched by it. And maybe that's why his words still echo today, because we are all, in some way, trying to forgive the parts of ourselves we once condemned in others.
And all right, guys, and we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. And I got a special guest here today. It is Dr. Shane Marteau, a clinical psychologist, does speeches not only in America, but in South America as well. And I'm glad to have you, sir.
Good night. How are you? It's good to be here.
It's all good, sir. It's all good. So now we do have a lot to cover because we're going to get into mental health and then we're also going to get into politics.
Correct.
But I do want to show the audience some of your work. You know, we just can't have people who's not valid up here. And I would like to say this doctor's valid.
On Tuesday, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with local and international institutions, launched a 4-day mental health and well-being conference at the Arthur Chung Conference Center. A number of professionals participated in several interactive sessions focusing on key areas including suicide, injury, and trauma prevention. U.S.-based Guyanese and clinical psychotherapist Shane Tull, who is facilitating the sessions on professional self-care for mental health professionals, spoke to the importance of implementing self-care into one's daily life.
It's important that we take time to spend with ourselves, to take care of our needs, because helping humanity is a moral imperative, but taking care of yourself is a personal imperative.
The clinician also highlighted signs of burnout that mental health professionals should be cognizant of in their field of work.
If you're irritable, you dread going to work, you're short-tempered with your colleagues and your staff, you're cussing out your husband and your kids, those are all, tiredness is a sign of burnout. And it's very pervasive in the mental health space.
Tull recommended that persons should be conscious of the shift that may occur in response to their jobs, adding that oftentimes mental health professionals require adequate rest and rejuvenation. The 4-day conference will wrap up on Friday. Renata Burnett, reporting for the HGP Nightly News.
All right. All right. So I do want you kind of to elaborate on that. So where were you going with all of this? Because of course it's a very important subject, but what was like your main talking point during that conference?
I think it's important, as we start the new year, to think about our mental health. I think last year was somewhat tumultuous. I think on the political front, it probably started off the new year in the same way. But I do think I want us to forge a new path where instead we are so entrenched in our own silos, in our own beliefs systems, and seeing our neighbors the other. I want this year we should give ourselves an opportunity to learn about that other person and to meet with them. I believe that when you sit face to face with someone, it's kind of hard to hate them when you hear their story and you connect with them. So I really want us to launch and lead off in 2026 with compassion and empathy. Compassion that for yourselves and empathy for the person that does not share your political view or does not share your religious beliefs, but really understanding at the core of who we are. We want peace, we want tranquility, we want safety for our community and our family, and equity. So I really believe that if we are starting, if we start a new year having these difficult conversations about ourselves and standing and reaching outside of ourselves to meet someone from the other side that we're not familiar with, or we just don't like their politics. I really think we need to move away from that and start. We can start a journey of healing and reconciliation, not just in this country but in the world.
All right, now I'm all for bridge building, but there are some very I would say this, it's like day and night on how we feel about a lot of things. And that's just sadly, that's just the truth. When we talk
Mhm,
about how we want healthcare to be like, well, how we want healthcare to go, how we want immigration to be ran. And like I said, I'm all about extending the bridge. I always try to extend the bridge to my liberal companions all the time. Like that's
mhm,
one of the premise of my show. I want to hear from everybody, left, right, and center. But we do have differences to where it does get contentious between us, especially when it comes to immigration and the
mhm,
argument that, well, some of the left uses. And
mhm,
I'm more on the right. I would consider myself center right due to my geopolitical views. And
mhm.
I would consider you, well, you're not far left, but you are on the left.
Probably center left,
Yeah.
probably.
Okay.
But yeah. But I also think it's imperative that you and I have this conversation from an intergenerational perspective, because I really believe that young people get a bad rap in terms of not being aware or being too angry or being too left or too right. But I really think young people are just folks that are trying to figure out this thing we call life. And I do think if we have these intergenerational conversations, we can enlighten each other, we can support each other, as well. We can also agree to disagree, and that's healthy. That's what
All
a
right.
democracy looks should look like.
Well, all right then. Well, I do want to go over some past comments, and then we can go ahead and look into that because I do want you to elaborate on some of the things that you said in past interviews, like our
Mhm.
guy on one mic. What was it? One mic night. Shout out
One
to
might
that.
night, yes.
I love your interviews with him. I'll be honest with you. People
Good,
think I only listen to right wing content. I was like, no, you'd be surprised.
good.
But shout out to my man Monty. Mr. Paramedic, guys, make sure you follow him. He even started his own channel. He said, check my messages about the Epstein victim video. I believe she showed signs of trauma-induced psychosis. I got grilled by the resident lefties when I said that. Now that we have women that with creds up here, I want his opinion on it. All right, all right. Well, you mean people with credibility on here. So, okay, so there's an Epstein video, and he pretty much wants you to analyze it to see if there's any type of, I don't know, some type of psychosis or anything going on that you could probably pick out. We could probably do
On
that
whose
later
part? Psychosis on whose part?
on the young ladies who's giving the interview to the, I believe, to who's being under her deposition. Yeah, when
Yeah,
she's giving her deposition and all that, they're trying to say
yeah.
that she might be under some type of trauma-induced psychosis.
Well,
We can look into
I
it.
think
Go ahead.
she's definitely traumatized, and from her lived experience, and I believe that that should be respected. It should be heard. And if she is exhibiting signs of psychosis, I don't think that's a far fetched reality for her. Because if you were traumatized as a teenager and no one believes you and you feel powerless, and now you're able to tell your story. Every time you tell your story, you're being not only re-traumatized, but in the culture we live in, we're also being re-victimized because those women are being
Gaslit.
bullied. People are saying very bad things about them on social media. So
Mhm.
I think they're in the fight of their lives. But what I do believe, as victims, they should be heard.
I believe the same thing. I don't really like how Epstein files have been administrated so far. It's absolutely atrocious. Like I can't think of a reason to be redacting entire pages unless you're trying to protect an entire story.
Correct. So it would be advantageous to just put everything out there. Just put it out there. Let's get over it and let the chips fall where they may. Because every time you come up with a tranche of information, and so a huge part of it is redacted, it adds to the conspiracy
Conspiracies.
that
Yep.
somebody's hiding something, or there's something to hide, or someone is protecting someone else. So I really think if just put it out there, let the
Yeah,
public
Lord
see, let
knows.
them make a decision. Especially since this was one of the talking points the current president and the administration ran on, that there was something there in these files, and once they get in there, they were going to put it out like the current um, Cash Patel.
Yeah, that's true. Well, trust me, Cash Patel was talking a lot of ish that he never really followed through on. But
Correct.
2 out of 3, we got the JFK and the MLK files, but yeah, those Epstein files have yet to be fully released. Oh, and
Say that again, but Epstein files.
yeah, we got the we got 2 out of 3 of what he promised, which was the JFK and the MLK files, but we have not yet still got the full release of the Epstein files. They're slow rolling it for some reason, but
Of those three, which one do you think is most important and relevant in this climate that we're in?
it would be the Epstein files because it shows a
Okay.
deeper conspiracy, and it leads into human trafficking, drug trade, financial crimes, everything.
Human trafficking as well. Yeah.
Yeah, human trafficking. So yeah, I would like that to come out. Yeah, JFK and MLK is nice, but
Correct.
Jeffrey Epstein is current.
Correct. And they were the ones that purport this, that we got the files, it's on my desk, we're going to be distributing it, it's going to be out there, and then you hear, oh, there's really nothing to see. So even the MAGA base is infuriated by this.
Yeah, and then once they said, "Oh, there's nothing to see," all of a sudden now we're coming out with what? There's 1 million files, 1 million papers.
5.2 million.
Yeah. I'm like, but I thought
Yeah,
there was nothing to see.
correct.
So I always give my little buddies that one. But a shout out to Mr. Pandemic says, "Thank you so much." I said the exact same thing. He was talking about your analysis on the trauma psychosis or trauma-induced psychosis. But I did want to play a clip here because, like I said, I like you and this guy. Let's see here. Let me make sure I got the right video. Perfect. All right. I believe this was about 2 months ago. I do want to get your thoughts on this.
So a lot of things have happened since we've been together, and we got to talk a little bit about it. Today, I want to talk a little bit about the federal government shutdown. We want to talk about the budget standoff, and we want to talk a little bit about the White House construction, in addition to any other things you want to talk about. Everyone, please write down in the comments as you're watching this, if you're watching it on Facebook, YouTube, federal government shutdown.
So let me go ahead and
Imagine, the GOP thinks that they have the moral ground because their base is with it, and the Democrats are definitely holding the moral ground. But if this goes through, so many people will lose health care. And, health care is a human right. And in this country, it should be an entitlement, not a privilege. So I really believe if the Democrats continue to hold, we'll see what happens. But I think what's also interesting that maybe the GOP base will realize shortly is that because this is the enrollment period. So when they're getting letters that their policies and their insurance is going up $1,000, you can't keep grandma in the nursing home anymore.
But all right, now I do want to get your thoughts on those comments right there, because I'll tell you this one right now. Now, doctor, a lot of people hate when the left says healthcare is a human right. What do you mean by that?
I think in America, healthcare is a human right. I do think that we live in the richest country in the world. We're the most powerful country in the world, and we're like the only powerful nation that does not provide equity in healthcare. So I don't think that we should make healthcare a left or right in issue. I really think it should be a humanity issue where we should want healthcare, competent healthcare for every American.
Hmm. All right, all right, I hear you guys. I hear you on that one. But there's a lot of people who work in medical who pretty much says, "Well, you don't really have a right to my service." So, like, we understand that it sounds nice, but how is this implemented? Like, is it implemented through the government, through higher taxes across the board? Like what are what are we doing to the medical field, and how would they be affected by it? Like, are questions that I think they would like to have answered before we just, go ahead and go forth for what what the left wants when it comes to healthcare.
Yeah, I do believe that there is a space for healthcare reform. I think we all can agree on that. I definitely think so. But we also want to make sure that healthcare reform is also equitable. It's that people that really need it, poor people that needs healthcare, that needs preventative care, that enhances your quality of life. That should be part of the conversation, that we all have access to it, we have equal access to it, and it's also available as a prevention. Not, I think healthcare should really be presented as prevention and instead of a cure. Because if we use healthcare as in prevention in terms of helping people exercise, better nutrition, um, early, early testing, all of those things, if we invest in that, our outcomes will be so much better. Would you agree?
All right. Now I get the whole, being proactive instead of reactive. Trust me, I'm all about, prevention instead of just waiting until things get bad.
Mhm.
The problem is though, is like I said, it's just the way the current system is built right now. And we do have to hold ourselves just a little bit accountable. We as Americans, we need to get our health together to also help lower, you know, I would say healthcare costs, because I always do say, like, hey, those people who thrive on being unhealthy and think it's an okay thing, you're dragging on the healthcare system. The fact that we even had
Correct.
fraud going on in Medicaid, that was dragging
Correct.
on the healthcare system. So we do, like, I can agree with you if we make sure that the money is actually going to the actual people. Because right now, from what we've seen in Minnesota and even here in Columbus, our healthcare dollars, child grants are not even going to Americans. And and you say it's supposed to be an American right. Well, it has to be for just Americans, because sadly, we can't do it for everybody.
Well, I think if we're able to place emphasis on those prevention things, in terms of early childhood education, early health start, introducing farming in the urban community, community markets, those kind of things where you are encouraging people to eat plant-based stuff, buy plant-based stuff, invest in the things that will not only make us and our children healthy, like move away from soda, get your kids up, get them off the phone, let them go there to the park, walk, run, stretch. Those are things that helps us to stay healthy, and it also impacts our mental health. That's why I always say mental health is health, because if you're taking care of your mental health, your physical well-being is well also. And there are basic things we can do to take care of our mental health and physical well-being, as eating properly, walking, exercise, swimming. These are not things that you necessarily have to join a gym to do. These are things that you can do on your own. You can go to your neighborhood YMCA and take a swimming class, enroll in aerobics, water. There's so many things that we can do, but that's where we have to place the emphasis in prevention instead of when we have a large percentage of our population that's obese. We have a large percentage of kids that are depressed, and I really believe the reason they're depressed is because inactivity. They're
Mm,
on their phones all the time.
I
Kids need to
agree.
get out there and walk and stretch and run and fall down and bruise themselves and get up and all these things that is just a part of growing now. And we really need to reinforce those things. And there's nothing wrong with being on the phone and be having access to internet and information, but it should not consume our whole day.
Okay, well, first I want to get my man Monty in on here, and then I kind of want to ask you about these social media bans. But before that, shout out to my man, Mr. Paramedic. He says I'd like to challenge him on this, and then we're talking about healthcare as a human right. Am I right, Monty?
Yes, sir. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening, young man.
So I wanna touch briefly on what you started with. Um, I'm sure you've heard the argument over and over again, and I think Set reiterated it. Um, what do you mean healthcare should be a human right? Because I I understand the sentiment and I agree with it. It should be a human right, but in theory it should be, but in practice you need people, you, me, anybody else that works in the healthcare community to provide services, and you and I need money to provide those services. As a profession, I'm sure your schooling is very, very expensive, so somebody has to pay for that. How do you, um without confiscating somebody else's property to pay you, how do you get paid?
Why would we need to confiscate anyone's property for us to be paid if we're providing a service?
So you would not be, but the only way in which a government run or government mandated healthcare for all, or a healthcare human right, could exist is, I mean, right now everybody has access to healthcare. They just do not have the ability to pay for healthcare. You can go into any hospital and they're
Mhm.
legally required to treat you. Now
Correct.
that's emergency care, and that's reactive and not proactive medicine. But they are required to treat you. Um, with that being said, I kind of draw a different conclusion than you do.
Mhm.
And I think that that's kind of where that line should end. um we can save your life, and we can make sure that we do everything we can not to let you have permanent disability. But if you where do you draw that line? Where does healthcare, you know the entitlement to healthcare? Because I generally agree with you that that access to healthcare should be more accessible and we should be more proactive. But I kind of stop that at, it should be mandated that everybody just gets it if they whenever they want it, because there is a rampant abuse of the healthcare system,
Mhm.
simply because a hospital is a warm place to stay at night. um eh, so I kind of, I'd like to get your response to that.
Yeah, I think healthcare is a human right, and I think we all collectively need to
Hmm.
participate in this exercise of healthcare. I do
Hmm.
believe that if we are implementing prevention programs like Head
Right.
Start, early childhood,
Hmm.
teaching parents good nutritional values, not only for themselves but for their kids,
Okay.
early prevention, testing, all of those things. If we're able to prevent those, if we're able to provide those services, our
Hmm.
outcomes would be better. Would you not agree?
Oh, absolutely. I say that all the time. It's like
And this,
90% of the patients that I have are, in the situation because of ignorance to their own condition.
correct,
Yeah.
correct. So if we can collectively, through our schooling and universities and public policies and government, can come together and have a conversation of how best can we make our population healthy.
more health literate at least.
more health literate and healthy, and how what incentives and what things we can do
Okay.
to encourage that. So I
So not
really think if collectively we were able to do that, we
Yep.
will have proper outcomes.
Okay. I there's no disagreement from there. So it sounds like it's more of a education stance for you than an actual you want to you believe that services should be available to everybody. It's more teaching people the right way to do things. That if you drink Dr. Pepper 10 times a day, you're probably going to be at an increased risk for obesity. Okay, I see.
Correct. Yeah. And if
Okay,
you're a parent, you shouldn't be allowing your kids to be drinking 10 Dr. Peppers a day either. So
exactly.
that's
Yep.
the kind of literacy that we need to import on parents, especially poor parents. Because
Okay.
remember, we have to think of poverty is not only not having food, it's also
Right.
not having access to the right information and
Exactly.
education. So if we're able to forge that gap and have partnerships with local community farms and wholesale markets, and really help people, because a lot of people have yards, and we can encourage folks to plant stuff.
Just yep.
Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
and these are just basic things. If
Yep.
we do that, you will see a dramatic shift within 10 years in our healthcare system, and we will save not only lots of money, people will live longer,
Yep.
happier, healthier lives.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. I thought you were going to take a different approach, and because
You
I've
thought you
heard
was gonna go full on socialist on me.
I thought I was about to hear some radical leftist ideology about just tax the rich and pay for healthcare that way, and I was like, whew, that's just making Eli Lilly more rich.
Right, and that hasn't worked.
Exactly. Okay.
Let's
Okay.
be clear. That hasn't worked. So taxing the rich hasn't always worked. But I do think that if the rich can pay a little more taxes,
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
and we can do a little more to take care of ourselves and our community,
Have some personal
we
accountability. Yeah.
accountability on all fronts. We can say, oh well, they're rich and they have money, they can afford it. But we
Oh,
also have to recognize that it is my responsibility to take care of my health.
all right. And
Thank
doctor,
you.
as a resident of Brooklyn, New York,
Yes.
who did you vote for in this election?
I'm sorry.
Who did you vote for in this election? Was it Mondani, Cuomo? I doubt
Oh, I
Sliwa, but
definitely voted for Mandani.
really?
And I'll tell you why.
All right.
I think he just disrupt the whole damn system. And maybe
Mhm.
that's what we need. Because in that, there are lots of conversations started in terms of, well, maybe we need to think of a different way of meeting the needs of folks. Like you are a 30-year-old man, college graduate, living in New York City. Why do you have to have 3 roommates to live in New York City? Like literally,
Yeah.
affordability is important. And having a sense of consciousness and social justice and wanting to do things for your community, that's a good thing. I think we get lost in this whole thing that I'm going to be rich, only I need to be rich, and everybody else have to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. We
Mhm.
can, when we get up, we can pull someone along, and I think that should be one of the core values of humanity, especially in this country. We should be able to support pulling everyone up collectively.
Hmm. All right then. Well, now, okay, now I did want to go ahead and move on to this. You did bring up social media, and
Mhm.
I did want to give you a little bit of news about Australia. Australia actually put a ban on social media, and so have some of
Correct.
our states here in America
Say
on
what?
kids using social media.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I did want to get your thoughts on it. You think that's a good thing, or is it a step in the right direction, wrong direction? You think the government's going too far, or we're just
I
taking the
think
right
it's a
step?
I think it's a good conversation to have once
Mhm.
again, educating parents on the the pitfalls of social media and
Yeah.
parents be involved in what their kids have access to, and educating parents in how to protect their kids and turn on or off those parental um, programs on their phone. Because the
Hmm.
average adult my age don't have a whole lot of literacy around social media. A 10-year-old have way much
Hmm.
more literacy in social media than I do. But if we are able to educate parents and provide them with classes and information and knowledge about this is what your kids have access to, and these are the things you need to do to restrict that access. And I think if we do that, that would be helpful as well.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
So where I guess it's all in the lines, right?
Mhm.
Um, I mean, my personal belief is that the government is there to protect you and protect good civil order, and you know the minimal. I have the minimal government outlook on things. I believe, like you said, it is the parents' responsibility to monitor their children. It's, I mean, and you made a good point. Technology is moving so fast. I'm 27 years old. In 5-10 years, I'm probably going to be behind the curve, and my daughter is going to understand more about the devices that she has than I could ever. Um, so I understand that take from it, but going back to personal accountability, I believe, maybe wrongly, but I believe that if we allow the government to kind of become that safety net for every single aspect of our lives, because it's I firmly believe the government does not solve problems. The government creates unintended consequences from themselves trying to solve problems. Um, what, like, if any effect do you think that this is actually going to have for the intended goal, and how much of Australians in certain states, how much parental autonomy is being taken away now because of that?
And I think therein lies the problem. I think one of the things that we need to do when we are thinking of solving a crisis or a problem for
Hmm.
any population is to really go to them and ask them what is not working for you.
Yeah.
I think we tend to go in with this big product, we know it all, and this is what we should be doing. And
Yep.
that it flies in the face of a parent having a sense of autonomy of
Hmm.
what control they should have over their children. But if we're able to engage parents and say, listen, we want to work with you to protect your children because look what has happened within the last year on social media to
Yep.
children, how they've been exploited. We
Yep.
want you to be more educated and be proactive, and we want to work in partnership with you. I think you will get a better response that way as opposed to the government just saying, we're cutting this off, period. Even though
Yeah.
their intentions is to protect us. But
Yeah.
you always have to ask people what works for you because we're not the experts in their lives, they are.
All right. Now I do want to move
Absolutely.
on to this. I do want to move on to this clip right here. Now, once again, this was you on one mic night. So let's go ahead and listen to the doctor himself.
I can start, right? Where do we start? We haven't done this in a long time.
Where
Lots,
do we start?
lots and lots of stuff going on. How do you see the current political climate affecting the collective mental health of Americans right now?
I think it's very confusing. Even if we start with the immigration policies and the way they're being enforced, I think the president said we will just get the worst of the worst, and it seemed like he's getting the best of the best because all the statistics show more than 70% of the people that are have been, for the lack of a better word, kidnapped. None of them
Yeah.
have a record. These are people that are living their lives, are contributing to the economy, contributing to society, and they're part of our communities. And you know what? I thought about this last night. I said, These were the people that saved us during COVID.
Absolutely.
And now they're just throwing them out of the country. But what does that do for our economy? Because you're trying to workforce a whole big, a significant part of our community out of the community. Those are jobs, those are families wrecked. It impedes your local government, your local community. So who's going to fill that void?
And all right. So I do want to get you to elaborate. What are your current, do you still hold those current feelings about how the ICE operations are going, or have
Oh
it
yes,
changed
I
even the
oh
slightest?
yes I do. Yes, I do. I do believe that immigration is an issue in America, and we need to address it. But we can be humane and compassionate and sensible about it. Taking all of these people out of the country, out of the workforce, it's going to put a burden on the economy. It's going to threaten our local economy, which definitely will impact our national economy because a lot of the a lot of immigrants are gainfully employed. They have car notes, they have mortgages, they have small businesses, and they're doing the best they can. The only crime they have committed is that they have entered the country illegally, and that's not to be negated. Let's be clear about that. But I
Hmm.
do think there could be a pathway where, okay, you make them pay a fine if they have no crimes and they're carrying on their lives as any other American. Why can't they be rewarded for that? Because it was these immigrants that took care of America during COVID. They were the ones that went out and clean our houses, pick up our groceries, do everything that we were scared to do. They did that. Also, let's be clear, immigrants pay taxes that they cannot get back. And there are people that have been paying taxes for years into the American system. That is not to say they have a right to be here. I'm just saying that let's look at what they have contributed to America. America is funded on immigrants. Do we have to address the immigration crisis? Yes, we do. But I do think we could do it sensibly. I do think we can do it in a way that's compassionate and not tearing families apart. There must be a sensible way of doing this that is not created the mayhem it has created in cities across America.
Oof.
All right. Now, I know our argument here on, the right is that, the problem is a lot of these illegal immigrants actually take opportunity away from American citizens, of course, on the low wage side. And then it's also like, all right, so you're saying that, we're in a way not willing to do these jobs when honestly, I believe we are. And then when it comes to the higher paying jobs, you guys are pretty much saying, oh, let's bring the immigrants. They're the best of the best, the H-1Bs, and those guys rush us out of the higher paying jobs. So it's kind of like, where does the American people fit into helping America? Because I know like we're here too. We helped out during COVID too, by the way. So
Yeah.
so I'm just saying, like, where's the appreciation for being American? And all of a sudden it seems like we're just being beholden to immigrants. And let's not pretend like they're not here over the good graces of us, and they don't actually, and they do benefit off of, I would say, taxpayer programs that we fund,
But
and
they
we
also,
fund it
but they
more than
also
them.
contribute, and I do
So
think we can meet somewhere in the middle
can
to
I
Yeah,
where
can I
this is
respond to
resolved.
that?
Go ahead.
So you're right, they contribute, but not by a means of they want to contribute to society. They contribute as a function of them being here. That is a price of doing business that every person pays. Um, and a lot of them, if all these conditions are met, they're here illegally, not an immigrant, an illegal immigrant. If they're here illegally, they did not get a car note without a social security number. That's another crime that they have committed. They did not get a job without falsifying an I-9 form. That's another crime that they've committed. They did not, they're paying sales tax because it's automatically added at the end of their total. They're paying social security tax because they're using a fraudulent social security number. So to kind of paint the vast group of people as they're hardworking people that that they just need a break, and I get that, and I agree with you that there should be a path to citizenship for people that want to be here. But when you see things like we're conducting operations as is our prerogative as a country. It doesn't matter how nice it looks or how compassionate it looks. um when you see people protesting in the streets waving a foreign flag on American soil saying that they want to stay in America, and then making claims about stolen land and making all this, it kind of sours the taste of the American people against them. When it's like, wait a second, we've tolerated this. There's 20 to 30 million people here that violated our laws to be here, and then on top of that, a percentage of them violate the laws against American citizens in other ways. So
What
go
do
ahead.
we do with 20 million more or less law-abiding citizens? They are the outliers out there that have committed all kinds of crimes,
Right.
and no one is saying that
Hmm.
we want those people here. I'm an immigrant.
Right.
I don't want those people here. I came here legally. My parents
Yeah.
brought me here. All that, and there are a lot of people that looks like me that come here, and this is the American dream. As much
Right.
as I push for immigrants, and I'm an American, and I
Right.
want us to maintain those values and those principles. But this
Hmm.
is America's made up of immigrants. We
Absolutely.
come we come here to do the very best we can. Not all of us are coming here to steal anybody's jobs or to finagle the system. Yes, there are going to be some people out there that are doing that. But
Hmm.
let's be very clear. The immigrants that they are going after are black and brown. There are a lot of white immigrants in this country from all over Europe that are here illegally, and no one is going after them. So let's
um
be very clear about that as well.
so as a percentage of illegal immigrants in this country, white immigrants from Eastern Europe and all those fun different places are being deported at the same rate. So
No,
that's the
they're not.
uh
I don't think that's good.
I
The research doesn't show that, and we can agree to disagree on that
yeah,
fact.
yeah,
But I
absolutely. I
just
don't
think
want.
it's a conversation for us that is something we should look at as well.
So where, I mean, being an immigrant yourself, you know how hard the process is.
Correct.
I'm not arguing that it's an easy process, but this country is often regarded as the greatest country in the world
It
by
is
other places as well as America. So with it being that hard, and then someone cheating the system, so to say, even if they're doing it with the best of intentions, I get that. I understand the compassionate argument in that. However, comma, it does not negate any of that, and it is not discompassionate to remove trespassers from your property. It's not discompassionate to call the police when someone breaks into your house. It's not discompassionate to remove people that should not be here and have overstayed their welcome, and or have taken jobs from Americans, because while it's not stealing jobs, right? I'm not deciding that I'm going to come take this job from you, but when you work for less money, and you have mega corporations that exploit that, you have taken that opportunity away from an American, and it's not a malicious act. I think that's what people, the
correct.
word stealing,
Correct.
it's not a malicious act. They're just getting a job because you need a job. Like, that's common sense. You need a job to function and to get money to function in the society. Otherwise, you're going to be homeless or a lot more likely to be deported.
But I also
um,
it's interesting that we're not going after the corporations that are hiring illegal
oh, we
immigrants.
should. I think that that's a major shortfall of our
I
immigration
agree
system.
because if we put the pressure on them, they will be forced to do the right thing and
Yep.
do their due diligence and make sure the person that they're hiring is legally able to work here. And I
Yeah.
think that's where we have to put the pressure on
There
as
should be a
well.
cost analysis done compared to an American citizen holding a job that an illegal immigrant holds on a case by case basis, and whatever the damage to the economy that's been done should be fined to that employer for each person that they have. That's my solution to
I
that.
could, listen, you and I could definitely agree on that, but I don't think that that's going to go over well
No, it won't,
with
because
rich folks that are running these major corporations, and you
But all
know
right,
that.
guys, if I can just go ahead and intervene real quick. Shout out to Misfit Supervisor, says Happy New Year's, everyone. Mental health is 100% must, which we are going to move on to. Shout out to my man Jordan for sending the $10 Bartle do, as he likes to troll us with that one. But all right, so mental health and politics. So, doctor, how do you feel about mental health and politics? Like, how do you feel like those two relate, mesh together? Stance on that.
I think the current climate that we live in, I think we're all experiencing some kind of mental health stuff in terms of when you look at the the economy, healthcare, Epstein files, Venezuela, all the stuff that's going on. But what I do think that we do need to take a breath and recognize and realize that we are the greatest country in the world. We are Americans. And I think in 2006, we really should be intentional about meeting with people that don't look like us and don't share our values and really use our empathy to understand where they're coming from. There are a lot of things that I don't agree on with many people on social media and national cable media. But what I do recognize in them, in their vision, in their version, they want the best for America, even if I don't agree with it. And on that, I think we should be able to meet somewhere in the middle that you want the best for America, I want the best for America. What are things that we can work on that can make America better, where it's in a way that's equitable and fair for everyone? So I do think that's probably a seismic shift that would be a seismic shift in our thinking. But I really believe that for the last 10 years, we have been trained to hate our neighbors, to hate the person next to us because they don't share our values. It's us against them. And that's
I
where
wouldn't say this. Hold
the
on. I wouldn't say
democracy
that we don't
died.
share our values. Is that we disrespect each other's values? Like,
Right.
yeah.
I agree with that. I think we don't respect other people's values, and because we're so entrenched in our own that we have little or no regards for someone else's value, and I think we should be able to at least have that basic respect and appreciation.
I agree. I definitely agree.
I think man, he's 1,000% correct on that, because it's when you create an us versus them, now it's a competition. And this isn't life is not a competition to be won. It's something to be embraced and to be lived through. So when everything becomes a competition, people get hostile, because that's, human nature is to be hostile to each other when you're competitive. And I think we have gotten to a point now where it, the vast majority of people would not sit down across from somebody that disagrees with them and say, "Where are you coming from?" Um, I think it's there's a shift in it. It's becoming more popular now to do so,
Mhm.
but it's it's kind of a when when you bring up a topic and you're immediately shunned down for it, like you're crazy, and you're put down, or if you hold different values than someone, you're shot, and then the entire world erupts in laughter. It kind of again, it darkens people's hearts, and it that
Correct.
radicalizes people.
Correct. Correct. Because when we're not seen, when we see that other person as the other, we don't see the humanity in them. And if you don't see the humanity in someone, you don't have empathy or you don't have compassion. You just see them as this entity that I need to control or destroy. And we really need to move away from that.
Hmm. But all right, now I do want to go ahead and step in here a little bit. And great conversation, but I do have a couple questions concerning mental health. Now, let's go ahead and start off on. We're going to do men and women. What do you feel like the main mental health problem there is with men today?
I think the fact that, especially for men, we don't have we don't have safe spaces where we can ventilate about our feelings. And I think society has placed this burden on us that you have to be the perfect father, provider, everything. And if you fail, there's not many systems out there to support you. Like, what happens? Like, maybe younger generation, younger people, if they have a broken heart, maybe you can call your homeboy, you go out and have a drink and you talk about it. But that's just a one-time event. But what I do believe that if you provide a safe space, and I've been doing this around the world in terms of on different continents, going there, holding talks and conferences with just men, and really providing a safe space for them. Where and these are intergenerational men, where they're able to talk about their feelings and their insecurities. And the one thing that comes out is that they don't feel validated
Yeah, I honestly feel like
and
it's the
respected.
true. I also feel like it's the failure when a man has a failure to provide. I mean, it f's them up inside. To be quite honest with you, it really like mix them up, and they either one leave the home, or true, or two, well, God forbid, leave this earth. And it is, you're right. I
Yeah.
do believe that is the burden of provision, and that's what stresses a lot of men out. That's what makes a lot of guys go gray, and it's a lot of reasons why a lot of guys take their life is the failure to provide or feeling like they have no prospects in this world.
It's an it's an ancient, you know, uh conditioning that men have. If you don't provide, you die. And
Correct.
that has been carried over
Correct.
and brought into modern day society where that's not true anymore.
True.
If you can't hunt the food, you're not going to die. And but it covers, we've replaced it with, if you're not perfect in every way and you're not stoic in every situation,
Mhm.
then somehow you're less than somebody else, and you're shot down for that. And we like to say, oh, we're working on men's mental health and all this fun stuff. And anytime it actually, when the rubber meets the road, it's the same. It's, everybody gives it lip service, but no one actually does anything.
I mean, it's men's mental health until it makes you feel uncomfortable.
Yep. Yep.
But I do think it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to be vulnerable. I think for men, your vulnerability is your superpower. Because when you're vulnerable, you're willing to hear, you're willing to learn, you're willing to allow yourself to to be heard and to get the support we need. I think a lot of times we think we don't need support. We got this. We can do this on our own, and that is not true. Community is what helps us. Nothing that you have achieved in life, you've achieved it on your own. Even if there was somebody there to tell you, hang in there. I believe in you. I admire you. Keep pushing. You got this. Those little things really import on us a sense of belonging and a sense that, okay, there's somebody there that's listening to me or that believes in what I'm doing.
Mhm. All right. Now
I
I do want to
actually,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I actually think that's the reason so many young men have turned to podcasts, simply for that gratification that people are listening to me, people hear me
Yes,
out. I can say whatever I want
correct.
and get a feedback that's largely going to be supportive of me. Because in our communities, if you and I are friends it's awkward to talk. We might be best friends, but it's awkward to talk about the vulnerable things. It doesn't feel right.
Correct.
And Set can get up every single day and have some sort of fulfillment in his life just by talking to people. And like that's just one anecdote, but I see that kind of across the board
Mhm.
with this popularization of podcasts
Correct.
and conversations that people have.
All right, I do have a question from the audience. Well, shout out to my man James Foley. He says, "When do we stop sheltering millions and start intervening or intervening or intervene?" Yeah. So I guess he's going back to your immigration topic of, well, when do we stop sheltering millions and start, well, I guess helping them in their own country? And I honestly, I'm a very vociferous believer in that, and we need to shut off immigration, help these guys in their own country, because
Correct.
it's just an endless cycle. Like, we don't help them in
It
their own
is.
country, they're always going to be coming over here, and the
Correct.
problem's never solved, and we strain our
We
own
can't fit
resources.
everybody.
Yeah.
Definitely. But if we're able to help them solve the crisis in their country, which is mostly drugs and corruption, if we're able to help them in there, then there'll be no need for them to come here. So those are things to solve the immigration crisis. It's not just what we do here, it's the
Hmm.
policies we have in other parts of the world.
Now, let's go ahead and move on to, what do you think the biggest mental health crisis is for women?
Depression,
Shoot, I say depression, age, on the bad worst side, narcissism.
you say that again?
I would say, so some of them get depressed with their age, and then on the worst side of them, narcissism. I say we have a huge growth of narcissism growing amongst, like, I would say, women in my generation and above.
Okay, interested. Say more about that. I'm interested in
All
hearing
right,
your
so the
thoughts.
women in my generation, the millennials and Gen Zs, honestly think that men should be kissing their ass. They think that we're only here as providers, and we damn near supposed to be servants. Not a husband equals a servant in their eyes for some strange reason. And I'm
I'll
not sure
be
where it happened, but this is where we're at with it. And a lot of women have their nose up or their head up their ass about how they need to go about men. And I'm gonna be real with you, the prettier the girl,
the more they
sadly,
have it.
the more of a
Yeah.
arrogant asshole she is.
I'll be honest with you. The fact that you said that, I used to have a saying until I met my current wife. I said, like, the stereotypical woman is someone that just wants a man to shut up and pay for things.
Literally.
Not have an opinion, not like all the things we just talked about. That's a rising crisis for men. I believe are proliferated. I said that word completely wrong, but I'm not going to try it again. Um, by that attitude of women, like, just your opinions don't matter. I get to run things because either I'm out of your league, or
Yeah.
whatever the dynamic might be.
Mhm.
And it's
In the water.
yeah,
Well, the worst
yeah.
part about it is that, like, they don't really even know what it does to these young men. Like, one, these young men they don't see them as women no more. They see them as something to be bought. They see them as products. So it's almost like the way the women are going about it, they're damn near dehumanizing themselves, and they're being seen as products and sex toys instead of, well, I guess, divine beings that they are. So it's not even helping them, but they're continuing the behavior. I mean, the music, for everything from the music to the OnlyFans, all this stuff
Social
to tell
media,
women.
all of that.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dub. I'll go ahead and let you speak, because we hit you with a lot.
Well, I would wish for both of you to meet better women. in your-
Oh, I
There's always
have.
that. There's always that.
Congratulations, sir. But for men your age in your generation, I really think that is something to be studied. That if you're feeling that devalued and not appreciated, then what is the incentive for you to bring your authentic whole self to the table?
Yep.
And
I'd
how
say
do you
leave.
change a narrative when you do meet a young woman where you have to really, and once again, I think it's a great opportunity to have conversations with women and let them know that we're human beings and we deserve the same respect and everything that you demand. We deserve those things. And I think having those conversations will probably help you both to understand where they're coming from because that's coming from some place. And I think it's coming
Yep.
from the place that that women have been abandoned and hurt and disappointed. So I think they're at this place in this space where they're like, I can only depend on me. So I'm not going to be vulnerable to allow someone else to come in and hurt me. So I really
Yeah.
think it's
Mhm.
more of a defense mechanism
Hmm.
that they're using to navigate the world they're in because dating is rough out there.
I'm gonna have to push
It's like
back
a
on you.
blood
I don't
sport.
really think it's even. I think it's indoctrination. I think it's the ideology of feminism, being on your own, doing by yourself,
Mhm.
holding off a man and doing, and going off to college and doing your years there. I believe that's honestly what's creating the separation. That's also what create that
Not
mindset of I don't need a man. I don't over they hold off guys or a man is a second, third, or the fourth important thing in their life, right? But our wife, our girlfriend's supposed to be like at least top 3, but we're barely top 10.
I would modify that statement just a little bit.
All right, how
Not
you
that
feeling?
not that it's feminism. It is indoctrination. Feminism is a good thing. The actual definition of feminism
Oh,
is
it's
a
women's
good
rights,
thing.
of course. But we're
Women's,
talking about what's
but
been trend. Now, come on, we know we're talking about third wave feminism here, not the
yeah, yeah. Oh,
original definition.
absolutely. Like the,
Yeah.
the 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 pendulum has
I
swung
mean, we all
in the
believe that
opposite
women should have
direction.
rights. Like we all believe women should be able to vote, right? Okay, great.
But
Well, we don't believe
that's
in the indoctrination of women to separate themselves from guys and start aborting their babies. Like, are we right? We got that understanding?
I'm not clear what the last thing you said. I didn't hear that properly.
Oh, I said that we are. Well, you pretty much heard me the first time when I said. Now, when it comes to first wave feminism, we're all for women having rights and voting and all that good stuff. But with this new wave of feminism, it's more promotions towards separating yourself from a man and I guess the liberation to abort your baby
No, I'd
and
say
live a
that's a
reckless
whole
and live a
different
reckless
show.
lifestyle.
That's a whole that's a whole different show. We could address that for the next hour and probably will not agree on that,
Mhm.
and probably women will not agree on it as well. But I really every I think every point of contention is an opportunity for a learning experience
mhm.
and an opportunity for people to come together and resolve issues. So contention is not necessarily bad. It's how we deal with it and how we can use those opportunities to reach out and connect to that other person, or we can stay in our silo and defend our stand, which really you're not really doing anything. You're not changing minds, you're not meeting hearts, and you're not meeting that other person where they are to have these conversations. So all I
Mhm.
can say is that the journey of life continues, and if we are intentional about reaching out to our neighbor and our friend and our coworker that does not think and live or do the things we do or share our ideologies, we understanding and appreciating someone else's ideology is not an affront to my ideology. And I think people need to be cognizant of that. I may not agree with what you're doing, but I don't feel that is an affront to my personhood.
Hmm. All right. Well, shoot, I can always have a conversation with a feminist and all that good stuff, and we'll be best friends at the end of the day. But I gotta sit
It's
there and
not
point it out.
it's not feminism. That's why I said it's not feminism that is the issue. It is what the feminist ideology has turned into, almost a from my perspective anyway. They probably feel like they're doing the world, justice. But from my perspective, what it has turned into is we can do everything men can do. There's no reason for men to even exist in some spheres of feminism now. That, you know, it if a woman says something, it's to be believed no matter what. Um, even if it's proven to be wrong. You know, you had the whole Me Too movement where everybody was just getting canceled off of a whim. You saw Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, and it turned out Amber Heard was emotionally abusive to the man. I mean, that's an anecdote, but that is what pop culture is kind of putting up today, and people digest that and take that as, oh, that's how I should act, and you know, I kind of have this free reign to be however I want. And then you layer another thing on top of that is now men can become women, and we so it's almost like it's an attack from every single direction. And where does this, you know, the straight male find himself? Where does the straight white male find himself? I have to, you have to be apologetic for existing almost, and everything you do you have to kind of walk on eggshells or be politically correct, otherwise your entire life is ruined. That's it, and that's what I was saying. It kind of darkens people's hearts and makes them not want to open up, not want to be vulnerable, because anything you say can be used against you and will be used against you.
All right, did you all right then. So we're gonna go ahead and move on with this one real quick. Now, I do want to ask your opinion on this. So Trump's first year in office, what do you give it? A, B, C, D, or F?
Are you asking me that question?
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah,
That's a loaded question.
that's a very loaded question. But
I know, 'cause I
I
want you to go
don't.
in
I
on it.
let's just say I wouldn't. I would not give him high marks
I'm gonna
because
go
of
with
the
B.
things that he has reneged on in terms of one, the Epstein files, two, the economy, three, we're not going into other wars. We're going to be America first, and none of the things that he's done in the first year
All right.
is in contract with what he campaigned on. So
Now,
I can't
all
give him a
right.
whole lot of points for that.
All right.
Not
Well,
to
I don't
mention
know
that,
about the
yeah,
economy. I agree with you on the Epstein files, but let's be real. We have a net positive of jobs at the end of the year. Like inflation's down to 2.7. So, and GDP's up. So we can't really say he's doing terrible on the economy. But your
he's
take.
not doing great either.
Good point. All
But
right, I
so
give that.
we're also following the heels of COVID, and some would call it hyperinflation since he left office. So what, and I get it. I mean, but 45 days into his presidency, he was getting that criticism. Oh, where's the economy at? Like anybody in their right mind would actually believe that he was supposed to turn around 100% inflation and make it go back to the way it was 4 years prior.
He said
With
he can. He said, "I alone can do it. I will." On
and
my
he
first day, the prices of eggs are going to go down.
They did. They did. Did they
Not
not?
on his, not on his first day. Period. Not on his first day. The first
I
day
mean,
he,
can you parse
uh,
through hyperbole and look at the end result though?
which was what? What was the end result?
The end result is eggs are at the lowest point they've been in his presidency now. I mean, and not just now. This was 9 months ago that the egg prices had recovered. And so that's something I will give criticism to him, is he's very hyperbolic. He'll say something
Thank you.
that and sensationalist, absolutely, and the guy doesn't know how to form a sentence that doesn't do anything other than rile up his base.
I'm
But
glad you said that because I think that happened on Saturday when he was giving that speech, and then he just
mhm,
said, "Oh, we're going to take over the country. We're going to run it."
we're gonna
I
run it.
don't. Because when he said that, Marco Rubio had this look at his face like, what the hell is he saying? So now he said it. He can't walk it back and say, oh, that was, I shouldn't have said that. No, he
He's
wants to
never he
back
I
it
don't
all.
think I've ever heard Trump say I shouldn't have said that. And
Thank you.
that's
Nothing
How
like
about
that.
that? Yeah.
yeah. I think that is just an egotistical aspect of Trump. But if you look at the results of what he does, um, I would say that the results speak for themselves. So saying I'm going to end the Russia war on day one, no one did
He
anybody
said
actually
it.
believe he was going to do that?
I think he believed it.
I mean, Lord
Maybe
knows
he
I
did.
didn't.
Shoot, you ever heard of shoot for the moon's aim and you land amongst the stars?
Hey,
Over,
he's been
I
shooting
mean,
for
he's
the
over
moon.
promising and under delivering, but what he is delivering is leaps and bounds better than the previous administration we had. I believe we can agree on that.
I don't think so, but we don't need to be the dead horse because
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. But all right, guys, let's move on to the next topic because now let's get into the geopolitical side of things. I think we focus on the domestic side for long enough. So Venezuela, I do want to play this quick little clip real quick on little updates on Venezuela because it's not really going how we planned, of course, like I said, but let's see how things progress throughout the days because, like I said, the Maduro regime still looks like to be intact since this DIC Rodriguez lady, which is used to be the VEIP, well, the vice president for Venezuela, now the interim president. Let's see what's going on with her because she is a bit concerning because it seems like she's going to keep up Maduro's old socialist ways.
Morning, deposed Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife are back in a Brooklyn detention center awaiting their next court date. The two pleaded not guilty yesterday to 4 federal charges, including narco-terrorism. The couple was captured by U.S. forces in the Venezuelan capital on Saturday amid a military strike. Now, back in Venezuela, Vice President and Maduro loyalist Delcy Rodriguez was officially sworn in as the country's interim president. Rodriguez is striking a delicate balance as she tells the U.S. she wants lasting cooperation while also condemning Maduro's arrest as a kidnapping. And we're also starting to see the real human consequences of the U.S. military operation play out. An 80-year-old Venezuelan woman who died Saturday after the strike was laid to rest. Her family says explosives shattered their home and caused a lung contusion. Joining us live from the Colombia-Venezuela border is CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano. Lilia, thank you for your time today on Colombia, Venezuela.
Really, and that is oof. Woman died after Saturday's meeting. Yeah, and that would be one civilian death. And I this is why I kind of believe. Well, honestly, social media has been. I'm not sure if they're just running propaganda, but I don't think they're covering this fairly, because we all know that there's a side in Venezuela that supports Maduro, but they're not showing that side. They're only showing Venezuelans around the world that's celebrating this, while the ones inside are kind of just being ignored. We're just assuming that they're celebrating. But I mean, how do you think they're gonna feel, after this? I'm just saying.
But not only that, how do you think they feel when removing the head of the snake and leaving the whole body intact in the country where they have the power? They still have the same power and everything. They just removed 2 people, but the whole body of corruption and drug trafficking is still there. So what
Right.
did we really accomplish?
So again, I will point you to it has been 5 days, and if you watched what Marco Rubio said, the interviewer asked him the same question: why didn't you just go get everybody? And his response was, "You want us to do a Bin Laden style raid on 1,000 people when it's hard enough to do it? It took 1,500 aircraft to do it on one guy." So while we can say, hey, this is what I want to happen, or this is, not good enough, give it time. Like it criticizing and saying, oh, the whole head of the snake's still there. Yeah, but the whole body of the snake's still there. The head's gone. When you cut off the head of a snake dies. So I know I'm taking the metaphor too far, but but it is a show of force, and hey, we can come pick you up, and it'll take 15 minutes. It takes longer to get Venezuelan food delivered to my house than it took them to get Maduro out of his house.
Yeah, but let's
So
just be real though. This was all about, well, Maduro's ties with China, Russia, Iran, the fact that
absolutely.
he did, the missile defense
But
systems that they were using,
that's not what they're
radars.
saying though.
Oh no, you're right. You're
They're
right.
They're
trying
saying
to
this is
sell
for
it.
the
They're
drug.
trying to
And it's
sell
also
it though.
about the currency as well, because Maduro was about to go to the Chinese yuan to start purchasing oil, and
Yep.
well, we just couldn't have that apparently.
No,
So
that's a
okay. So
that's a
let's
superpower
at
doing
least
superpower things.
right, but no, but that's superpower breaking international law
It's not
because
an international. They had an arrest
they
warrant.
are
There is precedent for this. George
the
Bush Sr. did the same thing, and the international court
precedent
said,
does not precedent doesn't make it right. Let's be clear.
uh, I
Precedent
mean,
doesn't make it right. They
so
said that they were
Oh,
going
I'm finished.
because of the drugs. There's no drug coming out of Colombia that's impacting Americans.
10% of the cocaine that comes into America comes from Venezuela. We did the math on that the other day. That's 3,000 deaths if you account for 10% of the rate.
How about we need to do better drug prevention in America to prevent people in America from using drugs?
How did that
Let's
work with Dare? How has that
let's
worked for us?
my point exactly. So
It didn't.
that's where we need to be putting our emphasis on helping people to sustain themselves and not to get on drugs, and or if they do, have sensible, culturally competent programs to help them not only get off of drugs, but to get back into the workforce and have long-term support. That's
Mhm.
where we need to put, because if we do that, once again, educating your own people on how to take care of themselves, the need for the drugs would be here. Drugs would be coming to America if there was not a need for consumption of drugs. Let's be
Right.
honest about that.
So that's a chicken and an egg argument, and we can go back and forth on that all day long. But you would agree the people that support this and prop it up are a net negative for society.
And most of these people are people in corporations and
Mhm.
governments. Okay, so let's be clear
Corporations
about
aren't
that.
drug dealers. I mean,
Yeah.
unless you talk about the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay, so well, that's a
All right.
whole. They're a whole other form of drug deal. That's
All
a
right, guys, let's
whole
go
other.
ahead and get back to the video, okay? I love the back and
Yes,
forth.
sir.
Joining us live from the Colombia-Venezuela border is CBS News correspondent Lilia Luciano. Lilia, thank you for your time today. A lot of people are on edge right now. Gunshots were reported yesterday near the presidential palace. So what happened there? And what is the sense of security right now among locals where you are?
Well, where I am is in Colombia. I mean, this is a volatile area. It's near the border. There are crime issues, but not necessarily related to what's happening in Venezuela. So this is safe. We're outside of Venezuela. Right now, Venezuela is pretty stable in terms of security because the regime has stayed in power. Their forces, both the armed forces, meaning the military, the national, the local, the state police, and then the unofficial Maduro loyalist forces that work to threaten and intimidate people serving the interests of the regime, but outside of the law, are all active. There is an actual order by the regime that came out over the weekend that the police and that security forces would search, find, and capture people who have expressed themselves in any kind of support or perceived support of the actions on Saturday, of the attack and the capture of Maduro. So things there seem to be stable, meaning still under the repression of the regime that has been ongoing. That said, people are on edge because, I mean, the way somebody just described it to me earlier today was it's a tinderbox. And last night you were asking about these shots fired. That's such a great example of what happened. Apparently there was a drone, a commercial drone. Somebody was flying a drone, and the state security forces, of course, on high alert, because of what happened Saturday, started shooting at it.
Okay, yeah. Okay, now that explains it, because people were trying to mistake those shots as if there was like a gunfight going on around, the presidential building, and then these guys were about to get overthrown, when really they were just trying to take down a drone. They didn't know where it came from, and most likely came from the United States.
Correct.
But now, as far as Venezuela goes, though, so So doctor, you're already saying that you're not liking where this is going. Monty, I know you're of the opinion that this could possibly work out well for us.
How?
Not only us, but the people of Venezuela. And he made a comment earlier that this is what they're framing it as. No, I mean, yeah, this is what they're framing it as to the media because they're trying to win public opinion for a controversial issue, controversial action that they did. They're selling it to the American people. Oh, look how happy the Venezuelan people is. That is propaganda. And
Correct.
it doesn't matter who would have done this raid, that would have been the talking points. It was the same thing when we went and got Saddam. Look how happy his people are. So I don't buy into that. I agree that it is a good thing for his people, but that's not why they did that. And I'm more in agreement with why they did that. They did that so that Russia and China and Iran would not have political influence over what would essentially be a proxy in South America, close to America. And that's the real strategic reason that they did it. So when people say, "Oh, I thought he was supposed to be America first," that is the most America first thing you can do is to take out a sphere of influence that close to you.
No, I think that's a flawed argument from
Hmm.
the point of view that I think when they did that, I think they give very open carte blanche to Xi and Putin that she can go after Taiwan, Putin can go after anyone in that Soviet bloc and take it over. So they're going to be the three superpowers. So we're going to do what we want, and they're going to do what they want. That doesn't help.
Well, let's not.
Also, just let me finish. The
Yeah.
fact that they took out the head, and they doesn't seem like they have any intention of installing the democratically elected winner of the election the last time. They completely sidelined her. So if you are there for the betterment of the people of Venezuela, I don't think that's going to happen. And the amount of money that's going to be needed to be invested in Venezuela to get the oil that he's going after is a slew of money. It's going to take like 10 years to do it because the
Oh,
infrastructure
absolutely.
there has to be rebuilt. So
So I was gonna make. Go ahead.
how does we going into Caracas? How does that affect the lives of somebody in Iowa today?
Well, for one, he had an arrest warrant for crimes he committed against the United States. So every person in the United States he committed crimes against. That's how a federal offense works. A state crime you committed against the state, a federal crime you committed against everybody and everywhere. So while we're not directly affected, this is not going to change, me getting up and going to work tomorrow in the morning. He did commit crimes, was indicted for them, and was arrested for them. Um, Now the all of the ancillary things around this are kind of a moot point to me personally, because it is at the very basis of this was a law enforcement operation supported by the U.S. military because he had a military of his own. Um, I mean, funded by Cubans. So it's going to show that a proxy has already infiltrated that country, and as evidenced by the Cuban guards that were taken out in the raid. Um, so all of these things kind of compounding together at its base, and this is why he has this is why the argument for was it legal or was it not legal or was it a violation of international law? First of all, our laws were violated. Our laws trump international law because there's no enforcement body of international law other than us. Then secondly, this all of these things that are being talked about after would not be talked about if he was not holding on to power illegitimately and claiming to be a president. We didn't say the same thing about El Chapo when we went and rolled up El Chapo. We didn't say anything about I forgot what his name was. It started with an N. We didn't say these things about that
Noriega.
guy. Noriega, yeah. In the 1990s. It is only because he is a quote unquote sitting president that 50 countries do not recognize, for the record. Which
Removing him is not my issue. I think he
okay,
should be removed. It's not my
okay,
issue. My issue is trying to install an American government in a
mhm.
sovereign nation where there is a democratic elected person that
Yeah.
won the election. That's who we should. If we remove him, we said, okay, we're going to support her and let her run the country. That
So
is
what
that is
about the people?
democracy.
What about the people that have fled the country that were her supporters? 8 million people have fled that country.
If
So
she's well, we can put her back in there and support her and
yeah,
support, and instead of leaving Maduro's full team in there.
yeah.
So
I
it's like
mean,
we didn't do anything.
in an ideal world, I think she should be installed. But to the point of set that he's made up, 8 million people have left that country. That is a quarter of the country. Imagine
And most
if
of those people are in neighboring countries that can walk right back over.
I
Let's
mean
do that.
that's true. That is that is
If
true.
she goes back in, they will
Hmm.
be back there. So she will have a base. And there are a lot of people in the country that are supporting her. We
Hmm.
But all
should,
right, now speak.
if we're going to support democracy, then we must do it properly. And this
uh,
is not the way to do it.
all right, now let's go ahead and move on to, since we're talking about Maria Cachado, let's go ahead and hear from her because she makes her first appearance in a while on Sean Hannity. All right,
Mhm.
let's go ahead and hear it from her.
Now, following the capture of Maduro over the weekend and the end of his horrific regime, the question remains, who will succeed the brutal dictator and bring much needed change and freedom to the country? One name making headlines is Venezuela's opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. Remember, she rose to prominence after winning the independently run opposition presidential primary with more than 92% of the vote before
Oh
Maduro
wow.
then dictated
Correct.
that she be taken off the ballot. Now, that was only back in 2023. In the hours following the successful raid
I thought it
and the
was
arrest of
70%.
Maduro, Machado posted on X saying, quote, Venezuelans, the hour of freedom has arrived. Now, remember, upon winning the 2025 Nobel Peace Prize, Maria dedicated that prize and award to President Trump. She said on X, quote, in part, I dedicate this prize to the suffering people of Venezuela and to President Trump for his decisive support of our cause. But that is far from the only praise she has given President Trump. Now, following his decisive victory against Kamala Harris, she congratulated the president, promised that the rightful democratic government of Venezuela would be a reliable ally to the U.S. Now, she was also quick to thank President Trump for his, quote, firmness and determination in upholding the law after Maduro was ousted. In fact, since he won in November of 2024, Maria Corina Machado has thanked President Trump and his support and commended his resolve to help the people of Venezuela many, many times publicly and on X and elsewhere. She joins us now for an exclusive interview. Maria, it's good to see you again. How are you?
I'm fine, and I want to thank you, Sean, you personally and Fox News for the incredible support you have given throughout all this long journey for the cause of democracy of our people in Venezuela.
Let's go back to 2023. You won 92% of the vote to be the
Wow.
opposition leader. Maduro prevented you from being on the ballot. How was he able to do that?
Well, because they absolutely control the judiciary system and also the electoral council. So it was a miracle. Everybody told us it was impossible to carry independent elections in a primary process. And we were able to bring the country together to carry these elections organized by civil society with millions of people participating.
A
And the
landslide
fact is,
victory.
cowardly, he feared us, he feared me, Maduro. So he thought that by banning me, he would stop us from winning. But exactly the opposite happened.
Mhm.
Emilio Gonzalez Urrutia standing in my place, and we moved all around the country and managed to bring a country together and defeated Maduro by a landslide with
Hey,
Mhm.
Seth.
incredible.
Now, if I can make some comments here real quick. Now, the
Me
problem
too.
with bringing her in is that, well, Maduro and Trump both said that the people of Venezuela don't want her. They both said that she'd probably be overthrown within 48 hours.
That's not
And the
true.
problem with installing Maria Machado is that most of her supporters have left Venezuela. Now,
That's not true.
I mean, hey, this is what
She
they're
won by
talking. I mean, hey,
92%.
we're going off what Maduro and Trump said. This has been reported, but the fact that they haven't just brought her in immediately, it kind of has some now. What I'm saying
Validity.
kinda has a little bit of truth to it, because why don't they just slide her on in there if it's that easy? If they want her that bad, why are they still aligning themselves behind the old regime?
Can I respond, Seth?
Oh, go ahead.
So, with two things. So the comment you made earlier about how it might just be propaganda that everybody's celebrating in the streets, I actually no longer buy that argument. I gave some credibility to it, but if she won 92% of the
Thank
vote,
you.
absolutely, I don't give any claim to anybody on Maduro's opposition being upset about it, because that's 8% of the population. That is a rounding error where I
Thank you.
come from. So I absolutely believe that it is overwhelming support for what Trump did. In at least in Venezuela, ousting the leader. The Venezuelan people don't care why he's out. They're just glad he's out, because
Correct.
they have the opportunity. Maybe soon they'll have power on a 24-hour basis. So secondly, with what Doc said, everything everything's not in place yet for her to be in there. To respond to you, why haven't they just installed her? Like you said, the entire body of the snake is still there, ready to overthrow her, because they want Maduro back, or they want someone sympathetic to Maduro, and they want to maintain their power and their corruption. So when he says we're going to run it for a little while and then we're going to hold elections, I think that's kind of foreshadowing her returning.
Well, hold on. He never said
No,
nothing
I don't
about
think
holding no
so.
elections.
I
He
don't
just
think
said we'll
so.
run it.
I don't think for someone that won 92%, she has the stronghold, and the people will come out and support her and
Have
protect
you
her, especially if we put her in there and give her some support. That's all she needs.
Look, Lord knows
can
the
I
Move
opposition don't
Madur's
like her,
people.
so we'll
let
see.
me respond to what you just said. So you're a clinical psychologist. Have you ever heard of the inmate versus guard problem?
Oh yeah, somewhere there.
So it takes one guard with one rifle to control an average of 20 inmates, I believe was the conclusion of that study. And it's for psychological reasons. No one's going to be the first inmate to run. I think in that situation you have the military there that all align with Maduro. Otherwise, he wouldn't have stayed in power. He wasn't able to just do this because it was a happy little accident. There is the threat of violence if you speak up against the corrupt system that's in place right now. So 92%, that's great. And I believe overwhelmingly she should be in power, but we have to face reality. We have guards, and this is a guard and inmate situation. The people are terrified and want any hope. That's why they're so happy right now, is because they have been given just that little bit of hope.
I would say they're all happy because they the foundation of the regime is still there and they are
Yeah,
in power. So what is there to really celebrate? Because they're still under the foot of this regime. Now,
there's a glimpse of hope. That's what there's to celebrate.
I think they need, if we are able to install her and support her
Hmm.
in terms of, even if we have to have boots in the ground there, just to
Oh,
support her and install her properly, that would be helpful. When we do what we do, what it seems like we're doing, we're like really going in and taking over someone else's country. And that is not democracy. That is
no.
not building around the world.
I don't think we should go in there and nation build. I don't think that's what's happening. Maybe I got a different impression from what was being said, but from what I saw, I mean, I believe we've seen the same things. From what I saw, it's we need to. I think the direct quote was judiciously control a transfer of power, and
I don't think Trump even know the meaning of the word judiciously. So I don't
yeah.
think he knows what he was talking about.
I mean, but you can kind of I what I got from that and what I got from Senator Rubio, or sorry, Secretary of State Rubio, was that's what they want, that what I'm laying out or what my foreshadowing is. I think that's what they're trying to do, and I believe if that's what they do, that would be the situation that you want to see, is the rightful winner being supported.
Yep, that's what I want to see that from day one,
I don't think it
because
can
that
happen
would
on
give
day one.
people that would give
We can't.
people hope.
So what? So now
Well, here's the
man
thing,
is
like, it's not about it being on day one, but at least talk about it. Instead of
Correct.
just saying, "Oh yeah, it's all us now."
That should be the narrative moving towards that. Not saying we're taking it over, we're going to take the oil, we're going to keep the oil. That's bullying, and
would
that's
you
what
be
Trump does.
would you be happy if that was the result, despite what he had said,
If what was the result?
that she was allowed to run her country? I believe she is the president, not Maduro. Um, would if all of the chips fall on the table and it ends up that she is running the country through our intervention, would that satisfy all of the conditions? I don't care,
Yes,
really what.
I think it would, because it
Mhm,
would look like we're supporting a, a democracy. Right now, it looked like we're
mhm.
holding up a dictatorship that we went in there to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But look what is there. It just feels counterintuitive. Like this wasn't thought through properly.
Okay. I would implore you to just watch and see what happens, because I think your ideals of what should happen are going to be eventually what happens.
Let's pray on that, because that would be helpful
Yeah.
for the
But
people.
that's what I mean, to be clear, that's what I want to happen as well. But I'm not the Secretary of the State and I'm not the president, so I don't get to do those things.
You're
But
American. You get to voice your
it,
opinion about it.
absolutely.
And all right, guys,
All
let's
right,
go ahead and
folks,
get back
we've been
started.
here for 1 hour and 45 minutes.
Yes, we have. Actually, do you still want to keep going, or you got somewhere to go? Because we'll give it
I would
15
like to
minutes.
leave in about 10 minutes.
All right, no
I've had a
problem.
very long day.
All right, so in terms of Gaza and Israel, so Israel and Gaza. Now, how do you think Trump is handling that? Because I think he's doing all right. At least he got the ceasefire that's hanging on by a thread. A thread.
He should give Netanyahu the same treatment he just gave Maduro.
I mean, really need to kidnap that man.
How about that? Now we can agree, and we can agree on that one, because I think Netanyahu is just plain America. He's extremely presumptuous.
Yep.
He just does whatever he wants, and yeah, but he's not going to do that to Netanyahu. He's not going to do that to
No.
Putin.
No,
No.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing about Putin. I was like, now that I know we can do this, because I'm very, glass half full on our military. I know some of the capabilities of what we can do, and now that I saw that, it kind of leads me to, well, why haven't we done this to Putin? I understand there's consequences to, more consequences to doing it to someone like Putin, but Netanyahu's wanted by the ICC for war crimes. He didn't
Correct.
he didn't go and funnel drugs into the United States, but he should be arrested. We are a member of the ICC. We have the authority to do that.
Correct.
But the neocons never seem to have a problem propping up Israel. And
Not at all.
to be clear, where I'm coming from is not an anti-Semitic standpoint. I believe the people of Israel are just in their cause. The government of Israel is
taking it too
out
far.
for blood, in my opinion, and I think it should end. And they're very good at their propaganda. They're very good at their intelligence.
Yes.
So
And
I hold them to the same standard I hold our intelligence to. I don't trust them as far as I can throw them, and I'm scared of them.
And also, they've created a narrative that if you talk against Israel, it makes it look like you're anti-Semitic. I am for peace,
Yeah.
but you also have to understand the pain of a mother in Israel is no less than the pain of a mother in Gaza that lost her child.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Now, I might disagree with some of the methods that the Hamas and
Course.
them have taken to kind of be guerrillas and hide behind
I
those
agree.
children,
I agree.
but it's I to be quite frank, I don't like either side in this situation, and I don't like that we're taking sides in this situation.
I agree.
And all right, I guess we can go ahead and end it there, guys. All right, man. It's been a great conversation. Dr. Shane Marteau, man. You guys can go ahead and search him up, Google him. He's on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all over, guys. Make sure you give him a follow. And you're about to start opening your YouTube channel soon, right? Or you already got
Yes,
it?
I am.
All right,
With the
perfect.
help of someone I know.
Yeah, don't
Still
worry.
waiting.
Hey, don't worry. I like to help people out, guys. I'm a real helpful person. So,
All right. Be
all
well,
right, guys.
guys. If this was a great conversation, we should probably do it once every other week, if time permits.
Oh, Seth's got nothing but time.
Hey, man,
Yeah.
I have no problem with it.
Once again, thanks again, guys. Be well.
All right, you too.
Ciao.
All right. All right.
Oh
man.
my goodness.
I mean, yeah, smart, well-educated man. I'll tell you that right now.
I think you're muted, Seth.
Am I? Yo, well, Monty, I think you're. I think that might be you, Monty. I think the chat can hear me. But all right, well, shout out to my man Maine. He says Maduro lost the election and kept power. Takeover? I mean, yeah, that's pretty much what he did. He lost the election. Everybody's seen that he lost the election. Then he just turned around and said, wait. Then he just turned around and said, I won. Wait, hold on. Am I muted? Guys, hold on, guys. Can you hear me? All right, not muted. Okay.
Yo. Oh.
You,
it must be me then.
All right, we're going to go ahead and end it on that note, man. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is Set with Set Media, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. And I'm definitely going to go ahead and bring Dr. Shane Marteau back. Appreciate the support, guys. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
The man of knowledge must be able not only to love his enemies, but also to hate his friends. It sounds almost blasphemous in a world where we're taught that friendship is sacred and hatred is poison. And yet there's a profound truth hiding in these words that most of us are too uncomfortable to acknowledge. To love your enemies requires seeing beyond the surface, recognizing the humanity in those who oppose you, finding understanding where instinct demands rejection. But to hate your friends, that's the more difficult task. It means being willing to stand in opposition to those you care for when they are wrong. It means refusing to let affection blind you to falsehood. The person who seeks knowledge cannot afford the luxury of unconditional agreement. They must be willing to challenge even those ideas that come from beloved sources. They must recognize when loyalty becomes complicity, when friendship becomes an echo chamber. The pursuit of knowledge demands that we see the world and the people in it as they truly are. And sometimes that means loving what hurts us and questioning what comforts us. It's not easy, but then again,